Alright, so I'm back in the shop again today, and we're gonna pull this bell housing off and get this clutch out so I can take a look at everything. Hopefully I can get the new bell housing soon and I can just toss the new transmission in. I think the only thing that's going to be an issue, I just hit my head on the exhaust because I'm an idiot, and I think this might be the only issue, is the drive shaft loop, because that transmission's longer, and if it is, then I'll just move it back. It's not that big of a deal. So not that exciting of a day. I'll pull this out. I'm not going to time lapse or anything because it's not fun, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to have to drop this motor down because it doesn't fit past the headers. You can see how tight it is because the headers are made for a T56. Imagine that. Yeah, so I'm going to continue to do this, and hopefully it's not that bad and I can just pry it out with pry bars, because I'd rather full send it with pry bars than drop the whole motor. Alright, so this thing's been kicking my ass for like the past 45 minutes, mostly because I use Harbor Freight tools and they're garbage. But I'm also not going to spend all the money on Snap-on because I only work on my own shit for the most part, and I'm not an idiot. So, as you can see, the bell housing is completely fuckered in there. So when I got it on the car, it did go on with the headers, but I used a giant hammer to hit it in because I didn't think I was going to be pulling the transmission. I don't know why I'm so stupid and I'd think that, but because I break everything. And here we are, it's broken and the bell housing doesn't fit. Now, to be fair, if I didn't change over to a T56, I wouldn't have to pull this bell housing, because I've already pulled this clutch with this setup. I reached through here and got all the bolts in the clutch, and I slid the clutch out through the bottom because I can get in there. And that's a twin disc, so it is able to have maintenance done to it, but it's not really able to completely swap it. So I don't know what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna have to just like fuck around and figure it out. Hopefully I can just use a bunch of big pry bars and pry the bell housing out, because I don't want to drop the motor and I don't want to pull a header off because the headers are fucking stupid. You know, the header probably would be the easiest thing to do. Still don't want to do it. Not at all. I can't even get the starter in and out of this thing. The starter will only go in one way. And it takes me like 45 minutes every time I try to do the starter in this thing to figure out the exact way it goes in. I should take a picture of it, but usually I'm frustrated, and by the time I finally get it in, I'm like, okay, just slam it in because I don't want to do it again. So here we are, and this is gonna suck, but I'm gonna just keep working at it and figure it the fuck out. Alright, so I'm over 2 hours into I think I'm almost at 3 hours of just trying to get this bell housing out. And I'm super frustrated. I got the clutch out, well, most of the clutch out, and it's a little frayed. I don't know what the fuck that's about, but most of it looks fine. I might just sand it. I'll call Ram and see what the fuck's going on. I pried my heart out, I've cut some shit, and I still can't get it out. I'm almost at the point of cutting the bell housing in half. But I got one more plant, because it's really close, like super close. The firewall is not too happy. I'm going to put a ratchet strap on it and pull from the rear end. I think that's probably the next most stable piece in the car, and see if it will come the fuck out. So this is where we're at. This thing's hanging on by a fucking thread. That's where she's at. So I'm gonna hook it right here, and you can see where it's hitting the firewall. It's not that happy, but that I don't care about the firewall, especially not in the tranny tunnel. Yeah, it's painted, but who cares? I'm gonna pull the transmission like 6 more times. So I might just go to that Kenny Brown diff brace right there and go to that and stand back, and hopefully I don't die. I still got my work shoes on, so I'm definitely protected. So let's see what happens. So I finally got it kind of loose. Hopefully it'll come out. As you can see, I basically have the motor pulled out of the car. I pulled all the cradle mounts out. Nothing's pulling yet, but it's real close. I dropped the motor like 6 or 8 inches. I just keep lifting the body up with the lift. It's gonna be real fun to get this thing in, but I did put the jack underneath the cradle so I can jack the cradle back up to the car. But the bell housing's loose as f, and we'll crawl under here, and you can see, maybe, I don't know, I have an OG GoPro, but it's kind of just like dangling there now. So maybe I could pull this. I might have to crawl under there and yank it the rest of the way out. Maybe I can pull it from the other side, but it's almost done. My dog's somewhere behind that piece of wood or something. Yeah, there she is. Barking at nothing. Weirdo. And this is all I want to do tonight. It's already like 10 o'clock. I'm like 3+ hours in. Once I grab this. Oh, okay, more. He's real close. Real close to coming out. Now, I probably should have just cut this in half from the beginning so I didn't have to do this. And I would have lost like $200. And, you know, $200, I really don't want to lose it. Alright, so the GoPro died, but we got our victory for the day. The bell housing is finally out. Clutch mostly out. Only got 3 more bolts for that. Hopefully I didn't f the flywheel too much prying on that thing to get the bell housing out. The engine is now 8 inches too low, so I gotta fix that tomorrow. And maybe I'll just leave it. I don't know. I probably should fix it because I gotta get the other bell housing in. And do that, I gotta lift the car up. But I think the new style bell housing will fit. It was pretty awful. Wouldn't recommend it. Now, when I put the bell housing in, I beat the bell housing in with a hammer, and I cut something off. I think I cut that bevel right here and got it to fit in. And this time I cut this off just like 1/4 of an inch to get it out. So yeah, it basically does not fit with one of these OG, I think this is a Lakewood SFI bell housings. So I think that's where the actual sticker was, but this thing's so damn old. I've had it in the car for about 8 years. I think this thing was bought basically when the 460s were new, because I've had that thing on since I had the supercharged 4.6, because I immediately blew my 3650 basically 2 weeks after I got the car on the road, and then I went to the TKO. So I've had the T56 the TKO in the car since I've had it on the road. Yeah, so I gotta put that key member back in. Hopefully it squares up halfway decently. You're supposed to square it, but last time I threw it in and it was square. So I'll line up the bolt holes and it should be good. And yeah, rough day. Not great. Not ideal. Well, guys, I hope you never have to take a Bellhousing out of a Coyote car, because it is just miserable. Next, we're going to be getting the new transmission in and everything, so stay tuned. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave any comments, and don't forget to give a thumbs up. Thanks a lot.